that good?
That's good.
All right.
Ready.
All right. Up until fairly recently, I had always had this crazy fear of running, and I avoided it at all costs. The first sport I did in high school was Nordic skiing, and I distinctively remember dreading first practice because my classmates had told me that the warm-up was a running lap around the school. But looking back at it, I don't think that my fear was of putting my body through physical exertion. I think it was because I was afraid that somehow I might not measure up, that I would fall behind and not be able to catch up, that I would have to stop and maybe disappoint myself. Another big fear of mine is the unknown. Not knowing if I would be able to finish something I started would meet an expectation of mine. And I think that this has largely played into my confidence as a runner. After gaining some running experience this year through cross country and track, I decided to take my journey in facing this fear a little further and train for a half marathon. I honestly just wanted to see how far I could get, to expand my abilities and see what I could accomplish, fear-free. And over this summer, I've learned so many lessons. I've learned how to listen to my body and how to properly nourish it, and I've learned how to maintain motivation. But most importantly, I've learned how to ditch the fear, how to stop dwelling over all the possibilities of failure or disappointment. And I'm here today to share my story and how all the ups and downs have taught me how to do just that, in hopes of maybe inspiring someone to do the same. A part of my project was learning how to incorporate needs of nutrition and self-care into my everyday life. But I never understood how important these aspects of healthy living really were. There were weeks where I would just get so caught up in the running of all of it. How fast, how slow, how short, how long. This run is amazing, I'm doing so well and making so much progress, or this run was terrible, I'm never going to reach my goals. I got so caught up that I completely abandoned all these other pieces of healthy living that provide the mind with the strength and tenacity it needs to get through challenges. I can remember this one run. It was a hot and humid day, and I had planned on going 7 miles, but I had to stop after only 3. It wasn't my best day, but instead of telling myself that it was okay, because not every day is going to be my best, I went home and I didn't run for an entire week. One run didn't go as planned, and I became so filled with this discouragement, so upset that I didn't reach my goal, which was exactly what I had feared. But what happened was that I got through it. The world didn't stop turning, and life went on. Something that really helped me during this time was writing in a journal about how I was feeling and mapping out goals for how I'd get through something like this in the future. When I finally decided to get up and stop feeling sorry for myself, I went on my next run, and this time I was able to run 9 miles. I began to focus on my nutrition, trying new recipes that made me feel happy and fueled for my runs. On days where I wasn't feeling a run, well, I wouldn't run. I would walk or hike, and I would still have an amazing time being out in nature and just enjoying exercise rather than intensely ridiculing myself with each run. I listened to my body, and I gave myself words of kindness rather than words of hatred and discouragement. Because bad days happen, there will always be things that interrupt the plan, but that's okay, it's normal, and goals can still be reached. This new mindset helped me work through an injury I experienced this summer. I was running 5 days a week, and all the impact on my legs created a sharp pain in my shins. Injuries are just often an unavoidable part of sports participation, and while most injuries can be managed with little disruption in daily activities, some can impose a substantial burden on your mental health. For some athletes, the psychological response to injury can trigger serious mental health issues like depression, anxiety, disordered eating, substance abuse. Emotional responses can include sadness, isolation, lack of motivation, anger, frustration, sleep disturbance, and disengagement. All those similar to that I felt during my first setback. Because of this, I knew I had to keep moving and active in order to keep a healthy mindset during the recovery process. While keeping mindful of not putting extensive pressure on my body, I began to explore new ways of exercise. I picked up swimming and biking and found that I actually got a lot out of these things. I organized a hike with a group of friends, and we talked endlessly about all our summer endeavors and how our greatest adventures were going. I went on a few evening walks with my dad as well, which I really enjoyed. And although these outings didn't magically cure my shins, my mind was finally put at some amount of ease. I found that my training didn't have to strictly consist of running, that I could stray away from the plan and explore new activities. And while this injury definitely sucked at the time, I would later incorporate a variety of new activities into my training plan and expand my knowledge on different forms of exercise. During this time, I spent a significantly more amount of time exercising with my friends and family. I found that the presence of people gave me the support I needed to maintain happiness and motivation during the recovery process, while also making some great new memories. I learned that a setback can bring sadness and discouragement, but it can also bring so much positivity into life, and it can bring people together as well. All this time I spent exercising this summer gave me the opportunity to explore how this impacted me not only as a runner, but as a person too. In the end, there were two major things that I found this experience influenced the most. First, my confidence. I became more familiar with my mind and body and how it affects my running, which has played largely into the way I carry myself at practice during races and even just around school now. I also became more confident working out in different settings like a gym, where I started off timid and became a lot more comfortable with including new equipment into my workouts and maximizing my time there. I found that I actually felt stronger and more able to perform different strength workouts, which translated into my running abilities and self-confidence, which is something I honestly never expected to happen. Secondly, my mindset. I've struggled with stress and anxiety in the past, something that's always kind of weighed me down. And while exercise isn't necessarily the cure, it certainly helped me relieve tension and stress in my body and boosted my physical and mental energy. Sometimes during a run, I was able to focus in on the sensation of my feet hitting the ground, the rhythm of my breathing with each breath and the wind on my skin. And by adding this mindfulness element, I was able to escape all the pressures and anxieties of the world around me and just focus in on the experiences happening right in that moment. Exercising allowed me to feel a sense of accomplishment each day. And even if I had done nothing else, I had already achieved a goal, small or big, which was so impactful to me. In the end, I was able to run 10 miles, a goal that I honestly never thought I was going to be able to reach starting out at only 4 this summer. I was so fearful that I would disappoint myself, but looking back at it all, I was able to achieve with my mind and body, working through each setback and coming out stronger and more well-rounded. I can say that I'm proud, and I can tell you it's a really good feeling. I learned that the fear, it builds, and that it stopped me from setting goals that could be a little crazy, and it stopped me from learning things from disaster and failure that could create an even more meaningful outcome. And it goes beyond just running. Parts of my life that I've actually put on pause because I questioned my abilities. What I've learned is that achieving a goal doesn't work unless you accept that fear is possible and will happen, that there is strength within you to push through it, and you will do just that. Challenges are merely the blessings in disguise, the experiences that can teach a person so much about themselves. For me, the challenges I faced this summer allowed me to understand that all these fears of mine, they aren't unreasonable. And it's okay to have fear, but having the confidence to overcome it is what really counts in the end. It's seeing that, and so maybe it's not all about ditching the fear, but seeing that fear is a part of the real human experience that comes with each and every one of our individual journeys. Seeing that you don't need to have superpowers to get through it all, but that the strength and support from you and those around you will carry you straight through that finish line every time. Thank you.
Nice job. Anybody have any questions for Eva?